When I just graduated from college and entered the workforce, I fell in love with a woman who joined the company at the same time. Her name was Michelle. She was a quiet woman, not one to talk much, but she would express her feelings openly, saying, "I'm happy, this is fun, and thank you." To me, she was like the sun, a presence that warmed my heart when I was with her. It didn't take long for me to think, I want to be with Michelle for the rest of my life. After 2 years of dating, when we were 24, we seriously began to consider marriage. A month later, I had planned to propose to her on her birthday, and I had even prepared an engagement ring, when one day, we had plans to see a movie together. I arrived 10 minutes early to our usual meeting spot, in front of a cafe with a large monument, and waited for Michelle. Although when the time came, I waited for 30 minutes and even an hour, she didn't show up. I couldn't reach her on her cell, so, worried that something had happened, I went to the apartment where she lived alone. I tried to open the door with the spare key she had given me, but it was actually unlocked. Was the door unlocked? She's usually very careful about locking up, so I rushed in thinking something might have happened. "Michelle, are you here?" I called out loudly. Then, "Oh, Alex, what's wrong?" said Michelle, with a surprised look on her face. She was wearing a pink hoodie. It seemed like she was hanging up laundry. I, who had been anxious thinking she might have been involved in some kind of incident, was taken aback. What do you mean, what's wrong? We had plans to see a movie today, right? You didn't show up, so I came to check on you." Michelle, always reliable, had never forgotten a promise before. However, Michelle made a surprised face and said, "Did we?" She looked genuinely forgetful, and I couldn't bring myself to be angry for being left waiting. "Look." I showed Michelle our text exchanged from the night before. "Michelle, what do you want to do on our date tomorrow?"
I want to see a movie.
"Okay, so, meet in front of our usual cafe at 11.
Yeah, got it. Can't wait.
However, even after showing her the text, Michelle seemed to have no recollection. Forgetting the time is one thing, but forgetting a date we made just yesterday. At that time, I thought she must be really tired. So, we decided to spend a relaxing day at her place. I had no idea that she was being haunted by a serious illness. A few weeks later, there was a day when she didn't show up at work when it was time to start. Since everyone at work knew we were dating, they asked me to contact her. It was the first time in these 2 years that she was late for work following the previous date.
Hello?
When she finally answered the phone, her voice sounded like she was about to cry, but it seemed like she was trying not to let me realize it. "You're past your start time. What happened? Are you not feeling well?" To this, a shocking reply came back.
I don't know the way to work. I got lost.
What? I was stunned. She has been working at the same company ever since we first met 2 years ago. Of course, there hasn't been any recent change in the company's location. Moreover, until just yesterday, she was going to work as usual. I thought this was indeed strange, so I guided her over the phone to take a taxi and had Michelle go home that day. I informed the company, saying, "It seems she is feeling unwell." Since she had been working diligently, her supervisor accepted this without any suspicion. Then, the following day, I took paid leave to take her to the hospital. She was reluctant, but I was worried as she was acting strangely, and above all, I thought she would recover if she rested and took some medicine. However, the words the doctor told us were shocking.
It's early onset dementia.
I was dumbfounded. I thought dementia was a disease that older people get. I had heard about early onset, but I thought it was something unrelated to me, something I only saw in dramas or movies. How wrong I was. When you live life without any problems, you take being healthy for granted. Michelle was extremely shocked.
We can slow the progression, but a complete cure is currently difficult.
The shock she felt being told this at 24 was truly immeasurable. I, too, felt fearful about the future, but I couldn't be the one to feel down. Michelle, I'm with you. They said we can slow it down, so let's do what we can now. I love you, no matter what. Upon saying this, Michelle cried and said, thank you. Of course, there wasn't a bit of falsehood in these words, but at this time, I didn't fully comprehend the real hardships. After learning about her illness, she quit her job and decided to live at her parents' home. It was about an hour by train from my apartment, so after work, I decided to spend as much time as possible with her by going to her parents' home. I completely missed the timing due to moving and all, but my feelings of wanting to propose hadn't changed at all. Michelle, though forgetful, seemed to have no significant problems living with her family as the progression seemed to have stopped. Happy future would come without any major issues. I had such a naive thought. One day, a sudden rain in the evening. As usual, I took a train from the station near my company to Michelle's house. Then, I received a message from her saying, it started raining suddenly. You didn't bring an umbrella, did you? I'll come to pick you up at the station. I asked her mother to accompany her just in case and was relieved when she agreed. When I arrived at the station and came out of the ticket gate, she was there, holding a polka dot umbrella and clutching a black folding umbrella tightly. I couldn't see her mother anywhere. Michelle. When I called her name from behind and touched her shoulder, she gave a start and looked at me. I thought I had surprised her by speaking suddenly from behind, so I said, sorry. I startled you, didn't I? However, she kept giving me a wary look. She kept her distance from me. Michelle. I had a bad feeling. Then, it seems her mother, you had apparently gone to the nearby restroom, came back.
Michelle, sorry to keep you waiting.
Michelle quickly responded to her voice and hid behind her mother, looking at me with childlike frightened eyes.
Alex, you had already arrived. Sorry to keep you waiting.
With her mother's words, Michelle finally made a face. Noticing the oddity, her mother said, Michelle, it's Alex, you know, your beloved boyfriend, Alex. But Michelle, maybe confused, started to cry. She was clutching the black folding umbrella she had brought for me. At last, am I to be forgotten by Michelle? I was overtaken by such a feeling of despair. The next day, when I woke up, I was relieved because Michelle remembered me, but it seemed she didn't remember the things she had forgotten. After that, she began to forget me more often, and by the time half a year had passed, she finally stopped remembering me altogether. If I visit her persistently, she may remember me. So I visited her every single day, but she would become frightened and start to cry at the sight of me. By then, not only her memory but also her demeanor had changed, becoming like a child's. Still, I continued to visit her house every day. If I stopped going, I felt like she would never remember me again. But one day, as usual, when I went to her house, her father came out and said, "You don't have to come anymore." I was perplexed, but I became speechless at her father's words, spoken with a tearful voice.
You've been very devoted, supporting her every day, even after she fell. Even if she forgets you, even if she doesn't remember you, you are a very sincere and kind young man. My daughter is truly, truly blessed to have met someone like you.
Her father, choking on his words, said this to me, and I couldn't listen without shedding tears.
But that's why I want you to be happy. I don't want you to waste the precious time of your life caring for my daughter. Please, find someone new and be happy. Thank you for cherishing my daughter.
And with that, he firmly closed the front door. I love Michelle. I said it out loud, but my voice was small, and it didn't reach. Being separated from Michelle, never seeing her again, although I loved her so much that I seriously thought about marriage, Michelle has forgotten all those memories. This reality weighed down on me, and I couldn't even knock on the door, let alone stop her father. Since then, over 5 years have passed, and I have turned 30. In the end, I could not forget about Michelle, and I don't have a girlfriend, let alone be married. I have tried to go to Michelle's house many times since then, but my lack of resolution to be with her, clinging to her father's words that day, has stopped me. Today is Michelle's 30th birthday. I look at the engagement ring that was supposed to be given 5 years ago and remember Michelle smiling with a gentle smile. Michelle, who stayed by my side without a word when I was depressed at work. Michelle, who was happy to eat delicious food. The images of her back then vividly comes back to my mind. What kind of face is she making now? What is she thinking now? Even if her expression is different from before, Michelle is Michelle. As long as she is alive and in this world, that's Michelle. Michelle was always by my side, but I gave up halfway. I promised to be together forever. Remembering Michelle, who shed tears at my words when I first learned about her illness in the hospital, I couldn't stand still. It's not about a sense of duty to keep the promise. I sincerely wanted a chance to support her closely again. After 5 years, I came to her house. I ring the bell, but no one comes out. Did they move? Because I hesitated for 5 years. As I regret this, I heard a voice from behind.
Alex,
When I turned around, there were Michelle's mother, and Michelle in a wheelchair.
it's been a while.
Michelle's mother greeted me warmly, and Michelle was there, staring blankly, not looking at my face.
She doesn't talk much lately, but she smiles when she eats something delicious, so she still loves to eat.
Michelle's mother gives me an update without asking, "Is that so?" She seems to have a habit of pulling her hair out herself, and the hair that once reached her chest has been cut down to her jawline. She looks different from back then, a different sight of her. However, I was prepared for her changed appearance, and I was just happy to see her.
Even now, she usually doesn't express her own desires, but when I asked where she wanted to go, she said she wants to go to a cafe downtown. You know, the one with the large monument.
Hearing those words, I was surprised. That was the cafe where we often met and dined together.
I asked, have you ever been to such a trendy place? And she said she comes here all the time. But recently, she hasn't been able to go to the town alone.
Hearing that, I squatted down to meet the eye level of Michelle, who is sitting in a wheelchair. Michelle is still just blankly staring ahead. Even if she doesn't remember me, I was just happy that the days we spent together are still remaining in her heart. May I talk to her for a bit? Upon my words, Michelle's mom smiles and nods, then goes inside the house. Then, I speak to her for the first time in 5 years. Happy birthday, Michelle. I wonder if she understands her name being called. Michelle just looks at me expressionless. It's Alex, long time no see. Since she has no response, I continue. This is your birthday present. I brought it, wanting you to receive it. As I extend a palm-sized box, she reflexively reaches out her hand. But just before handing it over, thinking that this isn't the right way, I take out a ring from the box and put it on her ring finger. I just want to be with you forever. If memories are forgotten, then we just need to make happy ones from now on. I finally managed to say the words I've been wanting to say for a long time. Honestly, I was so nervous whether I could convey these words properly, so I felt relieved that I could. The ring, whose owner was unknown for 5 years, finally fits on Michelle's finger, shining brightly. Then, I noticed a change in her. Her expression remains unchanged, but tears are spilling from her eyes. Seeing her like this, I couldn't help but hug her tightly. She, looking puzzled, gently hugs me back. Even if her expressions and personalities change, as long as we are alive, we are here together. Even if forgotten, the fact that we spent time together remains unchanged. Even if she doesn't remember, if she feels happy even for a second in this moment, I would feel truly happy. I felt this strongly once again.